ACIC Consulting. I will be your moderator for this session, this info session, which is for the African Youth Adaptation Solutions Challenge. And this is an initiative by the African Development Bank and Global Center on Adaptation to promote resilience on climate adaptation among the youth in Africa. So on the panel, we have two panelists. We have Mr. Tapera Muzira from African Development Bank, and we've got also Aramide Abe, who will be representing Mr. Anthony, and she is from the Global Center on Adaptation. So welcome everyone. For those joining in from the Francophone countries, at the bottom panel where we have got the icons on the far right, click on the icon with the global on it and select the French option. So on our program today, we will have the panelists engaging us more on what the initiative is all about, being an initiative, a partnership between the AFDB, African Development Bank, and the Global Center on Adaptation. And we will have a walkthrough by KCIC Consulting. Prabhakar Ranam will take us through the details on what the selection and evaluation criteria is. After that, we will have a Q&A session where we will be able to interact with the panelists for more clarity on this African Youth Adaptation Solutions Challenge. Therefore, allow me to welcome the panelists who will be able to engage us further. Mr. Tapera Muzira. Okay, then Aramide, please welcome and engage this participant. Yes. Aramide Abe, please welcome and engage the participants on behalf of the Global Center on Adaptation.
Thank you, Christine. My video is not enabled. Can the host please activate my video? I think we have some people with their hands up. I'm not sure.
Yes, and as the team, are you able to identify the participants? Oh, the hands are gone. Okay. Okay, we have several participants with their hands up. Kindly indicate any information you've got in the chat room or any message you'd like to pass across. If you have got any questions, also kindly type them out in the chat room. So Justice, Abubakar, Pascal, Onela, Rukaya, and kindly put your question or message in the chat room. So Aramida, kindly take it on. We will address the comments or questions as we progress.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Christine. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. My name is Aramide. I'm the program lead for Jobs and Entrepreneurship under the youth programs at the Global Center of Adaptation. You're very welcome to this session, this information session. Just wondering if my colleague, Mr. Tapera, is on, and if he's not, I will just carry on and welcome everyone. So welcome to this information session. Like we've mentioned, it's a session where we will be telling you about the Youth Adaptation Solutions Challenge for African youth. and also be able to answer any questions that you have. But first, let me welcome you again. The Youth Adaptation Solutions Challenge is a collaborative initiative between the African Development Bank and the Global Center of Adaptation, with a vision to really enable the capacity building of youth in Africa. And not just, in terms of supporting them on a small scale, really addressing the missing middle of businesses within Africa, those who, for example, start a business and then at some point don't have the adequate funding to be able to continue to scale it up to a certain extent. But before we go into, some of that, I'm sure my colleagues at the KCIC will talk you through that. I'll just give you a bit of a background as to the YouthADAPT Challenge and how that was born under the AAAP pillar, which is what we call it between both partners. So the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program, the AAAP, is a joint program, like I mentioned, and we are looking between the GCA and AFDB to leverage $12.5 billion to the African Development Bank's portfolio to accelerate climate change adaptation in Africa. So again, the focus of this, of course, is climate change adaptation and resilience. That is really the focus of everything we're doing, even with this challenge as well. So the AAAP program will provide a step change through implementing, brokering, and enabling large-scale solutions in 4 key areas. That is infrastructure resilience, climate-smart digital technologies, empowering youth, entrepreneurship, and job creation in climate change adaptation, which is where we are. And then the 4th is innovative financial initiatives for Africa. So under the youth, and empowering youth entrepreneurship is where we have the YouthADAPT strategy as part of this collaborative effort. And under this, we want to work with governments to support legal, policy, and regulatory frameworks. We want to strengthen the productivity and growth of youth-led and youth-owned enterprises with a strong focus on women. We also want to make sure we develop the skills of close to 1 million or up to 1 million African youth to prepare them for climate resilient jobs. And finally, to unlock about $500 million in credits for adaptation action for innovative youth-led and youth-owned enterprises. And if I didn't mention before, we have a strong focus making sure that there's a balance in terms of gender. So we're looking to engage and attract women, female applicants, in case there's, there's been a lot of questions around that. So I will stop there so that I see that we have our colleague, Mr. Tapera, on, so that he can also just give his opening remarks, and then we'll hand over to you, Christine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aramide. And may we have Mr. Tapera Muzira from the African Development Bank also giving his opening remarks. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Christine, and thank you, colleagues, for having me on this very important initiative that we are very proud to be part of. From the bank side, under the Jobs for Youth in Africa strategy, we see a huge opportunity in creating jobs through climate-friendly businesses or sustainable enterprises, as we put it. And in our view, there's a lot of opportunity that still exists in a number of sectors where businesses can change their practices, their models. They can reach higher goals in terms of profitability, whilst at the same time addressing the issues of the environment. We strongly believe that jobs don't have to cost the planet. And there are no jobs on a dead planet. So this is very, very important in as far as developing our continent in a manner that's very sustainable, in a manner that guarantees a future for our young people, a future with decent jobs that don't have to cost the planet. So we are part of this in order to provide a platform to attract young people to come up with solutions that can create sustainable enterprises on the continent that create decent green jobs. I do not want to take a long time, but thank you very much, Christine. I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tapera. So everyone, once again, you heard it from Aramide and Mr. Tapera. So the opportunity is here for us to take advantage of. There is a focus on women, and it is about the youth. It's about the future. It's about resilience. It's about climate adaptation. Now we are going to have Mr. Prabhakar Vanam, who will take us through the details as to what is expected for those who would like to take a job or who would like to take advantage of this opportunity that has been presented to us by Africa Development Bank and the Global Center on Adaptation. So Mr. Prabhakar, I will put up the slides for you. Please confirm that you are able to see my screen. Okay, just give me a...
Not yet, Christine. I think it's coming up.
Okay,
Yep,
you
we can
should.
see it now.
Okay, I'm putting it on presenter mode. So there you are.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you so much for the panelists as well who have spoken very high about this program. So from my side, welcome everyone for this very detailed information session on the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program. We are calling it AAAP, that's the overall program. And under that, there is a specific challenge that we are launching. We have launched on 6th of September. And we'll be taking you through to all the participants on the challenge, what it entails, what it is about, and who can participate, who are not eligible, who are eligible, and what is in it for you all in terms of the challenge itself. So my slides, I think I'll be running around 15 to 20 minutes overall. And after that, maybe there would be some questions which we would be very happy to answer. Yeah, we can go on to the next slide. Yeah. So I think Aramide, you heard Aramide mentioning about Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program, but just to highlight what the program is all about, it's a program which is jointly launched by both African Development Bank as well as Global Center on Adaptation. Sorry, can you go to the previous slide? Yeah, thanks. So through this program, what is bank and GCA trying to leverage? They are trying to leverage an additional $12.5 billion to the African Development Bank's portfolio, with an aim to accelerate climate change adaptation in Africa. As you can see, this is a Pan-Africa program, and everybody is allowed to participate in this program. So what does the program do? It will enable innovations and transformative actions that upscales and accelerate adaptation on the continent. So that's the overall objective of Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program. This will also provide a step change through implementing, brokering, and enabling large-scale solutions in 4 key areas, including adaptation into sustainable development efforts. So that's the overall program, which is called AAAP. Next. So what are its 4 pillars? It has 4. The first one is Africa Infrastructure Resilience Accelerator. You can see on the right side, the map indicates which program is working in which countries. Then the second program is about climate smart digital technologies, which will scale up access to climate smart digital technologies associated across agriculture and financial services, and targeting around 30 million farmers in Africa. The third pillar, which we are focusing on today, is about empowering youth. It is about empowering yourself, all the participants who have joined today, for entrepreneurship and job creation in climate adaptation and resilience. We are calling this as YouthADAPT, where we are bringing in both youth as well as adaptation into the focus. This will aim to promote innovations and inclusive growth for young people. And by young people, we are defining young people from the age group of 18 to 35, who are working in climate resilient jobs and through youth development. So that's the key focus that we will be discussing today. But just to cover the 4th pillar as well, the 4th pillar is about innovative financial initiatives in Africa, which will make substantive headway towards closing the adaptation finance gap, which is a huge issue across Africa. So these are the 4 pillars which both Africa Development Bank and GCA are closely working to address. Next. Focusing on our third pillar, the Youth Adapt program. So what are its goals? So the goals of Youth Adapt program is to work with African governments to support legal, policy, and regulatory reforms. Because if you don't create enabling environment, no longer, I mean, even if you have a fantastic idea, fantastic product, fantastic service, if there are policy impediments, you'll not be able to promote the product and services in a way to reach out to the underserved and various other communities. So that is first objective, first goal. Second is to also strengthen the productivity and growth of youth-led and youth-owned enterprises, again through climate resilience and obviously by boosting a lot of job opportunities across the continent. Third, we were discussing about access to finance being one of the key issues. So we are talking about unlocking around $500 million in credit, specifically focusing on adaptation actions for innovative youth-led and youth-owned enterprises. And last one is about developing skills of 1 million African youth across the continent. So we would be focusing on this presentation more about pillar 2, which we will be talking about Youth Adapt. Next. So what is this challenge all about? The challenge is to directly strengthen the productivity and growth of youth-led and youth-owned enterprises. And why are we doing this? We are doing this to increase climate resilience, and we are doing this to boost job opportunities. We are doing this to ensure that the youth of Africa, the women of Africa, are able to have a platform through which they are able to promote their own businesses, they promote their own services. So we are calling it as Youth Adapt. It is targeting African enterprises providing solutions in the climate adaptation and resilience. And whom are we targeting? The target audience are in the age group of 18 and 35. Next. So what's the goal of this? The goal of Youth Adapt Challenge is to equip young innovators and youth-led enterprises with customized business development skills, because this is one of the areas both bank as well as GCA would be working on in providing you the customized business advisory services to ensure that you as youth enterprises are able to scale up your products, scale up your enterprise by providing climate adaptation innovations. The challenge will also support commercialization of climate change adaptation solutions, because the focus again is to not just take you from ground 0 to ground 10, but also ensure you're sustainable, you're commercially successful, and you're able to drive the entrepreneurship drive of young entrepreneurs across Africa. You're not just seeking jobs, you're also providing jobs in that sense. Successful entrepreneurs, what will you get? Sorry, can you go back to the previous slide? Thanks. So what will you get as successful entrepreneurs? The entrepreneurs who will be selected through this competition will be given a grant of up to $100,000 to further develop their solution or to further develop the concept. And as Aramide, my panelist was mentioning, 50% of the winners are targeted to be women. So this is your opportunity to grab it. In addition, all the winners who would be selected through the program will be enrolled on a 1-year incubator program where you will be provided a specific business advisory services, mentorship support, and various other services to ensure that you are going on the direction of becoming commercially successful. Next. So what kind of enterprises are we targeting? So the target, first of all, any individual would not be eligible. This is specifically, the challenge is specifically targeting an enterprise or a business which is already existing. Enterprises working on product, services, tools, or ideas targeted at climate change adaptation and increasing resilience would be preferred or would be targeted. And target small enterprises or small enterprises could also be those who are shifting the traditional economy base to more towards circular economy, or bringing in some innovative solutions, innovative ideas in ensuring that the climate adaptation problems are resolved. So what can a solution represent? The solution can represent an adaptation solution that can be scaled or that has not been scaled, and it's not widespread use. So it's an innovative uniqueness, innovative idea that we are looking at. Then what are we also looking at? An existing resilience and adaptation solution, business or product. And lastly, a commercially viable means to ensure there is awareness or scale up uptake of specific adaptation idea. So that's the kind of enterprise we are targeting. Just to give you some examples. Okay. Just to give you some examples in terms of who all can apply for this challenge fund, we are looking at agriculture, climate smart agriculture specifically. We are looking at innovations in renewable energy. We are looking at water resources and sanitation solutions, efficient and climate resilient systems. We are talking about data-driven approaches, some solutions which are addressing revenue losses. And then we are also talking about health emergency responses, sound waste management, and then something in the renewable energy space, ecotourism, resilient infrastructure, pest management, disaster risk reduction, education. These are just some suggestive examples. If you have any other idea which doesn't fit into these brackets, they will still be allowed. You can still. I think the French translation is also been heard. So can that be resolved?
L'interprétation aussi peuvent être écoutées. Je ne sais pas si ça peut être reçu.
Yeah. So these are some of the examples of what kind of enterprise can apply under YouthADAPT challenge. But as I said, any idea, any solution that you have outside of this which is able to address the climate adaptation can also apply. So let's spend some time on the eligibility criteria. So we have 5 eligibility criteria here. First one is age. You should be anywhere between 18 to 35 years and you are eligible. Second is gender, as we were mentioning, 50% weightage or 50% preference would be given to women-led businesses, women-owned or women-led businesses. Third, about governance.
Hello, Vanam. We can hear the French and the English at the same time on both channels. Can that be sorted out, please?
Yeah, I think there is some disturbance. Solomon, can that be sorted out? The French translation is also heard simultaneously.
Sorry, Vanam, we can proceed. It's been sorted out.
Oh, thank you so much, Solomon. Yeah, the third eligibility criteria is about governance, and by that we mean a business must be legally registered and operate in Africa for at least 2 years. Kindly note it's at least for 2 years, and you must be operating or registered in Africa. This is for Africa and by Africans. So the fourth criteria is revenue. Businesses must have generated revenue for a minimum of 2 years. We are not talking about numbers here, but we are just mentioning that the businesses should be in existence for 2 years, and they should be able to generate revenues for the past 2 years. And in terms of strategy, we will be evaluating whether the business have a well thought out, future-oriented, adaptation-focused, workable business plan. So these are the broad eligibility criteria. Next. In terms of selection criteria, this is more internal, but what we mean, there are 10 selection criteria. The first one is entrepreneurship spirit and self-drive, because you are the ones as entrepreneurs who will be driving the business. So that is something that we will be evaluating. Business or market potential, whether the market, whether the idea, solution, prototype presented has opportunities to grow. Is a strategy to seize these opportunities well articulated in your application is something that we will be evaluating upon. The third is about innovations and technological potentials. Is a business idea new or unique, or is a business model innovative and scalable? Fourth one is about operations. As we said, are you in existence for 2 years, and are you financially robust, and do you have revenues for the last 2 years? Job creation and social impact. This is something which is very important to both Africa Development Bank as well as GCA. Does the business idea have potential to create decent and sustainable jobs? Please note it's not about jobs, but it is about decent and sustainable jobs. Does it recognize resilience, gender equity, and fair working conditions is one of the selection criteria. Viability, is the business model financially viable, or does it have realistic prospect of earning a significant share of its income through trade? Seventh is about management capacity. Who are the management of the, who are the idea, who are the brains behind the idea? How are they able to, who are the entrepreneurs? What are the relevant skills? And do they have specialized skill to specialized skill required to sustain the business? And number 8 is about environmental sustainability. Remember, we are talking about climate adaptation here, and environmental sustainability is something that we would be evaluating as part of selections. Gender, as we said, 50% would be for women. And lastly, geographic location. Operations should be in Africa. So what will happen after you send in applications? 5 things. The first one is you would be getting confirmation, and those who have already applied, just confirm if our systems are working well, whether you already received the confirmation, whether your application has been received by us. Second is the selection and shortlisting. So out of all the applicants, we would be selecting 20 youth-led adaptation-focused businesses, which will be shortlisted. And third step would be a communication. Once you are selected, once you are part of 20, you will be communicated as to you have been successfully onboarded. And fourth is bootcamp. We will be organizing for all the 20 enterprises. We will be organizing a 1-week bootcamp in which we will be helping you, working with you rather, in developing your pitches and fine-tuning your business areas. So all kind of support will be provided during this 1-week bootcamp, and this will be and along with the technical assistance, we will also be helping you in developing a 5-minute video about your own business, which will be presented in the finals before the jury. And lastly, the finals would be in line with COP26 event, where you would be presenting your video, where you would be presenting your pitches to a jury, and you would be selected on November 8th. So that will, out of the 20, we would be selecting 10 who will be eligible for financial support of up to $100,000, and 20 would be eligible to be part of the incubation and acceleration program, who will be receiving technical and business advisory services also. So what happens if you are in the 20? What happens? So the first thing we do is we will be providing you all kind of technical assistance. And how do we do that? We provide gap, and we start off with doing gap analysis. We examine your current state of business model, and we try to identify if there are any issues, if there are any gaps in terms of going live, becoming commercially successful. So based on gap analysis, we will be designing customized enterprise-based business and development services modules, where we will be providing solutions, where we will be providing technical assistance to your own enterprise. Third is the access to finance. As we said, we'll be providing up to $100,000 as part of results-based financing, which will be disbursed in the course of 2022, from January to December 2022. And lastly, you will also be provided mentorship support, one-to-one mentorship support, to address your specific issues, specific problems. And if you want to go from you want to go from incubator services to kind of acceleration, and from there to scale up, the mentorship services is something that we will be providing you in terms of ensuring that you get the wealth of experience of all the mentors to support you. Next. Just to note, these are a few of the important dates for all of you to remember. Information session, which we are doing today, that's on 20th of September. The application deadline, kindly note, the deadline is for you to send in your application is of 6th of October. Then out of those, once after the deadline, we will be evaluating and we will be selecting 20 enterprises. We will be completing that process by 22nd of October. Then we will be doing a boot camp for the 20 finalists from 22nd of October, a 1-week boot camp. And then on November the 8th is when all the 20 finalists will be pitching their ideas to a jury, a very high-level jury. And on the same day, we will be announcing the top 10 enterprises. The top 10 enterprises will be receiving the financial support and business advisory support, and top 20 enterprises will be receiving business advisory services. So that's the date. That's the date for you to note, 8th of November. And lastly, once you're selected, once you're part of those 20 enterprises, we'll be commencing the incubation program from January to December, where you will be receiving 12 months hand-holding support to ensure your enterprise is commercially successful. Next. So that's it from my side, and I request my colleague Kennedy to come in and take you through the application procedure. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you so much, Vanam. My name is Kennedy. You can have the slide still on, please. Great. So my name is Kennedy Ouma, as my colleague Vanam Prabhakar has been able to mention. I work together with Vanam, Solomon, and the team at KCIC Consulting within the communication department to support FDB together with the GCA in this specific call. Now, having had and having known the benefits and the background of the Youth Adapt Challenge, it is now important for you to understand then how do you apply. So there's only one option for you to apply. One is to go to your browser and then you visit Youth Adapt Challenge. You can key in these specific logs that you can see. I mean, the link that is indicated here, bit.ly/youth adapt challenge. That youth can be small y, the adapt can be capital A, capital D, capital A, P, and T. And still you can achieve the same link. So once you clicked on that link, either on Chrome or Mozilla or whatever browser you are using, then you'll be able to see a screen like this. And now I've been able to share my screen. Kindly, you can drop that. Can I share my screen? Good.
So as Kennedy proceeds to share his screen, kindly post any questions you've got in the chat room.
Which screen can you see from behind?
Yes, we are able to see a screen on the African Youth Adaptation Solutions Challenge. Click to apply. We can see two icons. Click to apply. Cliquez ici pour la version française.
Good. Great. So once you you enter that link, then you'll be able to see this window, this landing page, which will give you more details about the application, about the program. You'll come. Then, if you want to proceed and apply in English, you can come here and click to apply. If you prefer to apply in French, you can come here and apply. And still, once you click those, there are the languages that are provided, which I'll show you shortly. So again, you can still proceed and read the comments, what about adaptation, and who can apply and all those details. Then the same still applies down here, those two links. So if you click, let's say, click to apply, it will bring you to a portal on the KCIC Consulting website. Now, this is a portal that you'll be able to fill in your details. So you'll come down. First of all, again, as I indicated, if you would prefer to apply in English, it will automatically, it will be the default language is English. But you can come here and change your language. Just a minute, let me close this. You can come here and change your language to either Arabic, English, French, Portuguese, or Swahili. So then you can be able to apply in either of the languages. Now, you'll come down, of course, still have some narrative to read, and then you start filling your details from your name, your gender, birth details, citizenship, and the rest. Then you can come down and key into very specific requirements. And remember, there are also attachments that needs to be put in here. So when you are attaching your documents, ensure that they are well, developed in a way that all the information required are captured. And the most important thing is you can always attach PDFs or the Word documents, but you prefer PDF documents. Now then you come in and fill the rest of the requirements up to the very end. Then you can submit your form. Once you submit your form, you'll be able to receive an email that acknowledges that indeed you've sent, and we will be reviewing your application and will revert as soon as possible. So something to note on this form, you can be able to also, just before you apply, to click on the FAQs section or tab. If you click here, you'll get commonly asked questions that probably you'd want to clarify or to get clarified before you can proceed with the application. So that is on this page. I'm trying to link it out for you to see. This will be sorted shortly, but I think, yeah, the moment you click there, it will take you to frequently asked questions. I think you can see them already here. Who can enter the competition? And then once you click this arrow will give you the responses to the questions. The same as number 2, what are the adaptation solution subsectors that we are looking at? Then you can be able to see them all here. So there are a couple of questions that have been answered, but I think this session is the most important one because it will help you to be able to ask us any question and we will get to answer that today. So that's all from our end. From my end, I take it back to you, Christine.
Thank you very much, Kennedy. Thank you very much, Prabhakar. I think everyone there, you have it. 10 opportunities for the 10 top finalists. However, if you make it to the top 20, you still don't walk away empty-handed. You walk away with skills on how to pitch your business. But for the 10 finalists, they take it all the way for a year of hand-holding and mentorship on business and how to scale their business to the next level. Perhaps as the questions keep coming in, I would request Aramide to clarify. We have seen a list that has been put to us by Prabhakar on the sectors of consideration. Are there any sectors that perhaps may not be considered for support?
Thanks for the question, Christine. Can they maybe share that slide again with the sectors? That may be useful so that I can speak to that.
Sure, I will put that up for you shortly. And as we are I'm putting that up, perhaps also Mr. Tapera could share with us whether there are any particular or specific innovations that would be keen or expecting to see. So that is coming up shortly. There you are.
Thanks, Christine. Yes, so again, we are looking at businesses that are within the sectors that address climate adaptation and resilience. And, again, sometimes that definition is a little vague for people. So we have a good definition on the application website that tells you, what climate adaptation focuses on. So if your business is in any of these sectors that also address resilience and climate adaptation in the sense that it helps to adapt to climate change or build resilience to climate change within these different sectors, we'll be very, very interested in hearing from you. I don't want to say, oh, we're not looking at this sector or that sector. Even things like digital innovations will be welcome. So we'll be looking to see businesses that clearly address climate adaptation and resilience. It has to be very clear. I also observed a question on the chat when I was just looking through, somebody asking, do you have to have been in business for 2 years? Yes, it's mandatory that you have to have been earning for at least 2 years in any of these sectors. So if you have a business, not an idea, of course, we will be looking at ideas at some point, but for this particular challenge, it's for people who are actually earning, running businesses, and can show their track record for a minimum of 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aramide. And there was, maybe before we move to Mr. Tapera, there was also a question as to whether social projects can apply to the challenge.
That's a good question. And social projects, sometimes you have, with social projects, there's a triple bottom line effect in the sense that some social projects actually generate revenue as well as provide impact. So if your social business or enterprise falls within that category, we'll be happy to hear from you. But again, we want to see a revenue generating business that can also show future projections for revenue generation, which is why we're looking at for profit and not non-profit. So I hope that addresses your question. Okay.
So thank you very much, Aramide. Mr. Tapera, perhaps you could share some insights on any specific technologies that would come to mind that you would be curious or interested in seeing or expecting to see.
Right. Well, Christine, I believe in the energy and innovation of young people. So I think that it's a given that they will look at the applications of technology-enabled businesses to see how they can be applied in all of these sectors. So you will realize that in each sector, there's always an opportunity for adaptation. And what we are crying out loud for is for young people to identify those opportunities, to come up with new business models using technology or otherwise to take advantage of those adaptation opportunities. So the sectors have been given by my colleague quite clearly. So the challenges within those sectors, what entrepreneurial opportunities exist for young people to come up with sustainable enterprises that not only grow our economies in a way that's sustainable, but in a way that's inclusive, including creating jobs, not only for themselves as young people, but also even for the society as a whole. So my expectation is that tech-enabled businesses or models, I'm looking forward to plenty of those in as far as they are applied to the sectors my colleague has given. And I believe strongly that there are opportunities to apply technology to those sectors for climate adaptation. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tapera. So there we have it. Technology is big, and we know youth and technology work hand in hand. It's a very close-knit relationship. And we have another question, and I think I'll give this to you, Aramide. There is a question about if my co-founder is 35, so that's a possibility that one of the partners, possibly it's a partnership, I don't know what the shareholding is, this is not indicated, but it appears that we have got one partner or one founder who is above 35 and another one is within the range of 35. Would that business be considered? You are on mute, Aramide. Please unmute.
Thank you. As you know, we work in collaboration with the African Development Bank, so it would be great for the GCA to give feedback and our colleagues from the AFDB as well. So I've just tried to see if we have other colleagues on here as well, if they can raise their hands so that we can also allow them to answer some of the questions. But I'll go ahead and answer this question in terms of the co-founding. I think what you said was if the co-founder is 35, and how old is the founder? It doesn't say?
It doesn't say.
Yeah, I mean, we've said 18 to 35 years old. I mean, I think the African Union youth definition is within somewhere, not necessarily exactly that bracket, but somewhere in between. So as long as the businesses are founded by youth, and it sounds like one of the co-founders is still a youth, I believe that business will still be eligible. Of course, some of these criteria are set in stone, like we want to make sure it's climate resilience and adaptation. We want to make sure it's a business that has been running for 2 years. But in certain things, like if your maybe co-founder is slightly younger, then they can, be the person being put forward. So for example, that's a way to look at it. But yes, we are targeting youth as an overall umbrella. Okay.
Thank you, Aramide. And for the colleagues from Global Center on Adaptation and African Development Bank, you could send me a chat message so that I can identify you by name. It's a bit difficult to get to know who's in the house.
I'm so sorry to have confused you there as well, because it's not easy. I think Andre Marie, who is now a panelist, and also Edith, but her hand isn't up. So maybe if she raises her hand, we can promote her to a panelist as well. Yeah.
Okay, kindly Solomon, take note of that and promote them to panelist status. And in response to Mwalo Maxwell, you say you have an idea but not started a business already. I think that was already clarified, that the business must be running for at least 2 years for it to be considered for participation or among the top, or rather to make it to the top 10. That is kind of cast on stone, based on just borrowing the words of Aramide. So looking through the chat room, if you've got any questions, kindly put the questions in the chat room. So can the presentation and eligibility be shared? Yes, however, I would recommend that you just click on the link shared. You will find all the information there. However, we will share that presentation with all the participants. There is a question here. I'm not sure who will take this. Maybe from you will guide me here, Aramide. What if the business is existing but not registered? So that means sounds like the business has been in existing for over 2 years, but not yet formalized. What would that mean?
Sorry, I'm muted. You know, we have questions coming in through the Q&A, so we might want to also monitor that, and then the chat room. But again, they really have to be a registered business. One of the criteria was that they have to be registered in Africa, operating in Africa. If you're a business, you know, a structured business, it should be registered. So that is what we're really looking to see, because to be able to fund and provide that support, you really have to show that you are an on-ground business that is looking to scale. And if you are, then ideally you would be registered. So if there are any questions, there's also an email that you can send questions to in terms of if there's any ambiguity, but generally, yes, that's the criteria.
Okay, thank you very much for that response. And from the chat room, or from the Q&A, there is a question on if there is consideration if the business is slightly under 2 years. So I'm not sure what slightly would be, but there's an indication here it's 16 to 23 months. Yep.
So,
yeah.
Yes, I can, sorry. Yeah,
please go ahead.
Yes, I can answer some questions. First of all, when we say 2 years, it should be 2 years. So they should stick to the condition. Aramide also very well answered the first question about the age. If you are you are 2 or 3 people who you have launched the business, if one of the team member is a youth between 18 and 35, yes, the business is eligible, because we are aware that there are many people participating to run the business.
Thank you very much. It's a tight race because it's only top 10 who get into the room, into the final room. There will be top 20, but the final deal is with the top 10. So it's a tight race, and therefore it means that the selection has got to also be equally tight. As far as clean tech focused digital solutions and business models, you had it for yourself. It's all go for digital solution towards climate adaptation. So it's open room, go for it. If you've got a solution supporting climate adaptation and you're within the 18 to 35 bracket, this is your opportunity. So moving on to a question from Juliet, the selection criteria generating, well, this is an opinion more or less, and perhaps we could clarify why we are going for 2 years, because Juliet thinks it's not a fair criteria.
So what is her suggestion? We mean 2 years because we are trying to support those who are at the beginning of their process, of their business. If you target a business of 10 years, we expect that if this business has survived for 10 years, they don't need that small push that we want to give. So we're targeting micro and small enterprises at the beginning of their business, and we're giving them some push to go ahead. That is why, that's the reason.
I think Andrea Marie has answered that question. It will be good to see other questions outside of the timeline, just so that we're answering a number of people who have asked questions today. But like he's also mentioned again, a minimum of 2 years in business is good to show that you're a business that is looking to scale to the level that we're looking at. Remember, as much as we're looking to support small businesses, we're really looking at businesses that can commercialize at a certain level. And like I said, for people with ideas, businesses that are yet to start, I'm sure there will be, you know, thoughts around how we can support those. But this challenge is really focused at medium-sized, small, medium-sized businesses that are generating revenues.
Yeah, thank you, Andre, and thank you, Aramide. I've got also another one coming, going to why the number 10. Africa has 54 countries. Maybe before I even give it to Aramide to respond to that, it's a tight race. So Aramide, over to you.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. And please feel free to also ask Vanham as well. So there is Vanham, there's Joash, there's Andre Marie, Kennedy.
Why 10 people at the end? We have a constraint. The objective have been to support, will have been to support any youth who come in, but we have financial constraints, and they realize that we really need to support, and we don't want to scatter resources, giving something that will not really have an impact on the youth business. So this is the first constraint that we have. So, and this is also a beginning of this program. This program will run for 5 years. So this is just for us, we can say the pilot. Maybe next year we have more resources, we'll increase the number of winners. So this is those are the main reasons. We cannot start with 100 because we don't have enough resources. At the same time, we need to test the process, make sure that it is well working. And as we'll be running the program, where our precision is to go to more than 200 beneficiaries by the end of the program, or even more.
Thank you, Andre. And are export-oriented enterprises eligible to apply? I think that's a straight yes. And for how many years will this program last for? I think that Andre has already addressed in his comment on the longer term plan. We have a 5-year outlook, but for this specific pilot, so to speak, there will be an engagement of 1 year for the top 10 finalists. So I'm still looking, there is a question here, and I'll leave this one open because it's on policy. What ways or policy will I implement in achieving my goals? I think that's a bit general. Seth, unfortunately, we may not be able to respond to that question on this forum, given that we are more focused on this info session. But however, if you feel you need individualized engagement, there should be a link on the website where you could specifically engage with the team to be able to address or clarify the response you seek. I do not see any other questions unless I have missed out any. Please, if I have missed out any of your questions, kindly repost it in the chat room. I'm going through the chat room. For those who are putting up their hands, please post your questions in the chat room. There is a question on how much cost you would consider as revenue of the company or applicant business led. Is there a quantity attached to the revenue or a threshold to the revenue? Perhaps the KCIC team?
No, I can quickly take that question. We don't have a condition in terms of revenue, so you should provide your financial sheet, demonstrate that the business is viable. So not just because you can generate revenue, but the business is not really profitable. So we don't have a condition on that one.
Thank you, Andre. Yes.
And just to add to that, it's also it's vary between sectors, as you know. Maybe some capital intensive sectors may generate more revenue, so which is also why we didn't want to be too strict around that specific criteria. But the main thing is you must be generating revenue, and you have to show that you have been doing so for 2 years at least.
Thank you. And to Prabhakar, there is a question on whether the bootcamp will be physical or virtual.
Thank you, Christine. In today's world, everything is virtual, so the bootcamp will be done virtually. But again, depending on the needs, depending on the requirements of each and every enterprise, the bootcamp will be more or less one-to-one kind of support. We'll have a hybrid version where we'll have a bootcamp for all of them together. And then when it comes to making the presentations, making the videos, making your individual personalized pitches, it will be one-to-one, but everything will be online, virtual.
Thank you, Prabhakar. And there is a variation on the foundership or ownership on the business, just a different question where it appears the business was started by the parents and then the youth have taken over. So perhaps I know we had a similar question, but here was an issue of a founder and a co-founder where one of them is within the youth bracket. Perhaps you could shed some clarity on whether such a business would be considered for this challenge.
That's a good question, a very good question. I like that question actually. So we're looking at youth-led or youth-owned businesses, and it's interesting that now a youth has inherited that business and is looking to take it to the next level. So we will probably scrutinize that a bit more, but would encourage the person to still apply if they are the ones genuinely running the business and are able to prove so.
Thank you, Aramide, for that clarification. I think there's a lot of questions coming on whether the NGOs are eligible. And I know that had come up earlier. Perhaps we have participants who have joined us later. May I kindly request that we clarify that again, because that seems to be coming up quite a bit often.
Again, and maybe Andrew Mary might want to add something as well here, but we are looking at for-profit businesses that have been generating revenues. So if there is a social enterprise, social enterprises do generate revenue as well. We will be open to looking at that. But again, I think revenue generation is the focus, not necessarily even profit or not. So we want to make sure that you can commercialize that business, which is why we're saying it's a business, it's an enterprise that has been generating revenue. But again, there are different types of enterprises. There are social enterprises. There are strictly, for-profit enterprises. The vision is really to assist these businesses to scale, to expand to a larger scale. So a typical NGO that isn't necessarily generating revenue, but is relying on, for example, only grants, wouldn't necessarily be in our purview, because outside of our grants that we initially provide you with, we want you to go on to be able to even access more types of funding, not just grants, which is why we keep saying, again, you have to be an enterprise. The grant is to give you a boost, but really an enterprise shouldn't rely on a grant, for example, because then it doesn't show that you're viable. So it's just thinking about it that way and saying, okay, well, if I have a non-profit, an NGO that isn't revenue generating, perhaps I have ideas to be able to deliver businesses or products and services in line with climate adaptation, but not yet. I'll say keep your ears peeled, stay connected, because we may be announcing things that can help people with ideas. But in the interim, for now, we are looking at for-profit enterprise businesses.
Thank you, Aramide. So we have had it. It's about impact, climate adaptation, and sustainability. So those three must or have to be there. And that also responds to Umar Yahaya, who was asking whether if the program continues, he would be eligible. So there's an indication that you need to keep checking on what is happening in that space. There could be opportunities that will be coming up. And over to you, Prabhakar. There is a question here for you, whether the pitching session is for the top 20, a virtual or online event. I think we've clarified it's virtual. However, we might need a bit of a run-through, a summarized run-through on the difference between the top 20 and the top 10.
Thank you so much for that question. That's a very good question. As we were mentioning in the presentation, the boot camp will be for 20 enterprises, where we will be hand-holding you, we will be supporting you in finalizing your presentations. in making sure your pitch decks are ready for your presentations before the jury, for the finals. And then we'll also be hand-holding you in developing your 5 minutes video, a specific 5-minute video where you will be talking about your product, your service, your impact that you intend to create, the problems that you intend to solve, and various other things. So that would be the overall objectives of the bootcamp. And then with regard to 20 and 10, as I was mentioning again in the presentation, all 20 enterprises who would be making it to the bootcamp will be supported, onboarded for the 1-year program. Out of those 20, 10 enterprises would be also provided with the financial support of up to $100,000. I hope that clarified, and if there is still any confusion, I can clarify.
Thank you very much, Prabhakar. And for more information, you can go to the link on how to apply and the eligible criteria, and you'll be able to find the same information on that website. And we have a question here on a business that has changed its strategy to climate change initiative. And I think what this means is possibly they were not focused on climate initially, but they have possibly changed to focus on climate adaptation. Would the history count, or would the history start counting from when the strategy became a climate adaptation strategy?
Look, a company can diversify its activities, so we are not against that. It should just demonstrate that once they have made a step to work in the sector of climate change adaptation or resilience, what they have done there, and demonstrate that how they say that, show us how this really address the challenge of climate change and how youth can adapt in that business. So the history for sure, because if they have been in operation for more than 2 years, and they have been working on the sector of climate change adaptation just during the last 6 months, we'll be asking, what have you been doing? So yeah, it's clear, but still, for what we are concerned, they should show how what they have been doing on that.
Thank you, Andre. And there is a question here on the grant funding. Are there restrictions or commodities that through which the grant funding will not be utilized or cannot be utilized?
That's good. It's a difficult question. We expect that each firm or beneficiary of this program to demonstrate, to describe their needs, right? And then what they will be using the resources for. And it depends on their business. If in their business they need a specific equipment for, I don't know, in the aquaculture sector, something like that, maybe they can acquire some appliance, some equipment. But in other sector, we will just say maybe this is not necessary for what we are supporting. So it depends when they will present their needs, and then they will be analyzed, and we'll ask them questions about what they put, saying that they'll be using resources for. Aramide can add here. She has something.
Yeah, I was even looking for Edith to see if she wanted to, because she had her hand up, and I think she wanted to answer this question, but I don't see her anymore. Yes, it's a very good question. And I think, again, the commodities will be reviewed to make sure that they are in line with climate adaptation and resilience. It shouldn't be a commodity that is then harming the climate or harming the environment, because then that is counter productive to the vision and the intent of this challenge. So like Andrew Marie said, there may be some specific restrictions, but again, we're looking to see what people have and what people are doing at the moment. And it will be great because it's also a good way to showcase businesses that are addressing adaptation. As you know, adaptation is currently something that is being looked at globally now more intently, which is why, again, the definition has been vague in previous times, but now we're making sure that there's more clarity. So if we see businesses really addressing things that are specific here, it would also be a good platform to let the world know more about what you're doing, more about how this can even be replicated in other regions. So please do apply and do share your business plans. I know somebody had asked on the Q&A what kind of document required. I believe it will be a business plan that will be required either in the early stage. I think the KCIC can comment on that, or during the shortlisting process. But at some point that will be required so that people can review more about your business.
Thank you very much, Aramide and Andre. Prabhakar, perhaps you can clarify on what is expected during the application process.
Thank you so much, Christine. I think once you go through the application portal, I think the questions are very simple, and we are at this stage expecting your solutions, what kind of solution you have to offer, how is it going to impact, and especially how it can be scaled up in terms of taking it to another country or taking it to a next level in your own country or region kind of a thing. One of the other thing that we would be kind of very keen to check is the impact, both the commercial aspects of it as well as the social impact aspects of it. One of the things that AFDB and GCA are very keen on is on the number of jobs, sustainable jobs, decent jobs that would be created. So that could be one of the key indicator that we would be evaluating. And while we are doing the evaluations, if there is any further document, we would be getting in touch with you, like Aramide was mentioning about the business plan. We would be requiring some legal documents, your registration documents and various other things, certificate of incorporations, some audited financial statements, especially for the last 2 years, just to ensure that your revenues are there for the past 2 years and you've been in the business for the past 2 years, the revenue business that is. So those would be some key documents, and if your application warrants for any other specific document, we will come back to you specifically requesting for that particular document, which we may not have envisaged at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhakar. But before you get off, there is a comment here that as a participant or an interested participant applied and they did not get an acknowledgement. Perhaps you could guide on what they need to do.
First of all, apologies to that particular applicant. As part of the system, as soon as you apply, you are supposed to get an acknowledgement, and that is something that we would do. But rest assured, the application would have been with us, and our team will get in touch with you specifically and give you an acknowledgement on email. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that clarification. We've got a very specific question here focusing on a business addressing health and beauty products. That is a manufacturing business, health and beauty services, health and beauty education, and they train women on manufacture of cosmetic brands, marketing and packaging. Would they be considered?
I don't know whether Andre Marie wants to comment here, or do I have any of my climate?
Yes, at this stage, we can't say no or yes. We have shown you a list of some sector, but based on what have been described for the climate change adaptation resilience, if you're in the sector of education, the sector of health, construction, and you think that your business is aligned, please apply. So we'll analyze the application and give you the answer.
Thank you, Andre. And I think that also responds to Grace, who's asking whether poultry farming and fish farming can also be considered. I think it's about how you package your application and how you show the strength and the impact on climate adaptation. That is, and the innovation, of course. So, and we also expect it to be between 18 to 35. And there is a question as to whether there's a parallel program for support of student projects. I'll leave that to the GCA team to respond. That speaks to the future.
Yes, like I said before, we're also going to be drawing from lessons learned during this program to be able to evaluate how we can come in to support pre-entrepreneurs and other youth, people who have initiatives and ideas, projects. So again, we are literally commencing this. So I would say, stay connected with us as we proceed and evolve. But this challenge will really be focused on for-profit to encourage marketability, commerciability, and the likes.
Thank you, Oramide. And in response to Elwin's question, who's asking about equipment, I think Andre had already responded and said that when it comes to the funding, the situation or the circumstances will be addressed on a business level, depending on what the business needs are and what really is valuable or what is a priority for that business to be able to get it to the next level. So that will be dependent on what it is that the business needs at that point in time and not necessarily the location of the equipment. Okay, so I think that is it from the chat room.
I think I would just come in there and say, yes, a component of your business can be from abroad, but if your business is serving Africa and is operating within Africa, then we'd love to hear from you as well.
Thank you for the clarification. Unless there are any other questions, which I do not see any other questions on the Q&A. I think we have responded to all the questions. And that brings us to the end of this session. And I will invite, okay, so there is a question whether the presentation will be shared in the French language. So KCIC team?
Yes, the presentations will be shared both in English as well as in French.
Thank you, Prabhakar. So that brings us to the end of this info session on African Youth Adaptation Solutions Challenge. Thank you very much for everyone who has joined us across Africa. And now I will invite all the panelists to just share a parting shot, and may we start with Mr. Tapera Muzira from African Development Bank.
Thank you very much, Christine, for handling this very, very well, and my colleague panelists for your exceptional feedback. And of course, not forgetting all the young people connected. I'm very inspired to see there are about 138 people connected to this call. It just goes on to show how much creativity and energy we have out there. So that is very, very exciting. And I'm also super excited that there is nothing for young people without young people. And so I'm particularly happy that this course specifically targets young people, and I would discourage anyone above 35 to come in the way of young people who have exceptional ideas, but who have really very few opportunities like this to really come up front with what they can do. Here at the bank, we strongly believe that young people are part of the solution, and that they're actually able to solve the jobs crisis that we face. And so this competition is quite clearly on our part directed at providing the platform for young people to come forward with solutions, particularly on sustainable enterprises. So I've heard that others trying to bring in adults in one form or the other, but my appeal would be that this competition remains exclusively for young people. They have the ideas, they have the energy, the creativity, and I believe they can create jobs not only for themselves, but also for the society in general. So in my closing remarks, I would like to make that appeal that this is strictly for young people under the age of 35. This is in line with the African Youth Charter, which defines young people as 18 to 35 years of age. And this is also in line with our policy here at the bank. So we would like to see youth-owned enterprises and to some extent youth-led, but only if it is fully proven, as my colleague Aramide has said, that young people are really in the forefront of that enterprise. So this is a competition for young people. This is a platform for young people. So I look forward to seeing youth-owned enterprises coming forward with solutions on adaptation and on creating decent jobs, decent green jobs, I should emphasize. Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tapera. And before we move on to the next panelist, I would like to apologize to Kelvin. Sorry, I missed your question, but I see Aramide has responded to you. Thank you very much, Aramide, for that. And over to you, Aramide, for your parting shot.
Thank you so much. This was a great session also to get a sense of the kind of questions that need answering. It was great to see the enthusiasm from prospective applicants. We look forward to seeing your applications. I'd like to emphasize, I'd like to thank Mr. Tapera for his comments. He's pretty much said everything, and my other AFDB colleagues as well who were engaging in the chats. Now, we're really keen on getting women more involved in climate adaptation. So if you're a female, or if you know a female business owner, entrepreneur who is running a business in line with climate adaptation and resilience, please do well to engage them to apply. Like the KCIC team have said, they will be circulating the slides, I believe in English and in French, to participants. So look forward to that. And we also have our email. Maybe that can also be projected for any questions. So don't forget that the deadline is the 6th of October, if I'm not mistaken. And we look forward to getting your applications. So all the best.
Thank you very much, Aramide. And Andre, over to you.
No, thank you very much. I think that Tapera said it all, and Aramide. I don't have anything else to add, just to mention to you that they still have an email where they can send their question, and we'll take care we'll make sure that we answer, we respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andre. And finally, over to my colleague, Prabhakar.
Thank you, Christine. Thoroughly enjoyed the session. And this is directly to the participants who are willing to put in their application. People say Africa is young. We all know that. And it is now time to prove that by putting in a very innovative idea. We are youth. We also have fantastic ideas. And we also know how to mitigate our own climate, how to adapt to various solutions in the climate change space. So we are really looking forward to your innovative ideas to adapt to the various challenges, through which we can improve our own quality of life. That's number one. Number two, if you have any further questions, don't stop here. The info sessions can be taken offline in terms of you can send in your questions, and we at KCIC will be more than happy to receive your questions, and we'll be responding promptly to the questions that you have. Any information, any further information that you would require, you would need to fill in your application. Even while you are filling in the application, if you have a doubt question in terms of any specific question that is out there which you are unable to understand, please reach out to us. And because of that, don't stop your application process. Please reach out to us, and we'll be happy again to respond to your queries. So all in all, this is a fantastic opportunity to all of you, and I would like to thank both AFDB as well as GCA for creating this platform for all the youths in Africa. And this is a Pan-Africa. We are also trying to look at very good regional applications, west, east, north, south, central, everywhere. So we are looking at a very nice group so that we can also learn from each other, and we can also see how we can prosper through this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prabhakar. Aramide, I believe Dr. Anthony is here with us. So Yes,
That's
perhaps.
fantastic.
Yes.
I think it's another Dr. Anthony.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I got confused at the start when I saw that name as well. I think it's someone who's looking to apply. Yeah.
Okay. And please, Dr. Anthony, kindly type your message in the chat. May I also request Solomon on team to share the email address and the link to the application, because we still have questions coming in. And perhaps any other participants who have questions coming in, you can channel them to the email address that will be posted in the chat room. Kindly, Solomon and team, support us with that. So I think we've come to the end of our info session today on the African Youth Adaptation Solutions Challenge, which is an initiative by the African Development Bank and the Global Center on Adaptation to support youth initiatives in Africa. We've had it all. It's about initiative, it's about climate resilience, it's about climate adaptation. So the ball is in your court. It's a tight race. We've got the top 20 who walk away with pitching skills and the top 10 who walk away with the real deal. Now, thank you very much for giving us your time this afternoon from wherever you're logging in from. And we look forward to seeing exciting applications or rather innovations coming from youth across Africa. And we would also like to thank AFDB and GCA, that is Africa Development Bank, and Global Center on Adaptation for this opportunity to create or to support the youth in Africa. So thank you very much. And for the technical team behind the screens, we would not have done this without you, definitely. Thanks to you. So everyone, thank you very much and have a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.